And for more on US politics, I'm joined by Daniel Lazare, journalist and author of The Frozen Republic. Daniel, thanks for your time. What's your take on the new report saying intelligence community is warning lawmakers about Russian meddling in this year's election?
I'm very skeptical. I think Trump, essentially, Trump is put in a position where he is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. If he admits there's truth to reports, then he's obviously admitting that Russia is trying to help him get back into the White House, and that undermines any re-election, the legitimacy of any re-election bid. If he denies it, he looks like he's trying to push back at the CIA and make it all the easier for Russia to intervene. So there's really nothing he can do. I think the evidence of Russian involvement in 2016 was much less than the press let on. I think that Russia's involvement was actually quite minor and inconsequential. I've seen no evidence of any Russian involvement in 2020, and in fact, I think that that Russia would clearly much prefer a Bernie Sanders to a Donald Trump. Donald Trump has actually been quite tough on Russia, whereas Sanders would clearly push for a new, more equitable relationship with Moscow, and I think that's what Moscow wants.
Okay, former advisor and longtime friend of Donald Trump, Roger Stone, has been sentenced to 40 months in prison. Daniel, an appeal and a pardon on the cards, do you think?
It's very possible. I mean, Trump has already pardoned a number of prominent lawbreakers, and he's plainly outraged by the way Roger Stone has been treated. So I think it's quite a good possibility that he will follow up with a pardon for Stone himself. Democrats will go crazy, and not without reason, because Stone essentially tried to block congressional investigation, and so Trump, if he pardons him, will essentially be rewarding him for doing so. So that's a pretty serious blow at congressional independence.
There's always plenty happening in the US. The 9th Democratic debate was held in Las Vegas this week. It was the first of Michael Bloomberg's in this campaign. Do you think his strategy of waiting paid off or backfired?
It backfired. I mean, Bloomberg gave an amazingly poor performance. Someone said he's a better businessman than a politician, and he clearly is. He was unprepared. He had no idea how vulnerable he was. And the other candidates have been at this for 6 months, and they're seasoned professionals at this point, whereas Bloomberg was a novice, and as a result, he got creamed. As far as I'm concerned, he's been greatly weakened. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't withdraw in a few weeks.
Well, yes, he's going to be, next time we see him will be this Super Tuesday in about 1.5 weeks. Elizabeth Warren, she certainly fired up at Michael Bloomberg as well, describing what the billionaire had called women in the past. How do you think that went?
That went very, very well. I mean, essentially, what happened is that Bloomberg had been accused of a sexual misconduct by a number of employees, and in reaching settlements, he got them to enter into non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, as they're called, and that was obviously a favorable settlement to him. But he's obviously keeping their complaints under wrap, so it didn't look very good. He looked like a really kind of an old-time dinosaur in terms of his sexual attitudes, and it's not going to be easy for this guy in future debates because the Democrats are really charged up over this issue, and he just looks really retrograde.
Certainly going to be very interesting to watch. What about Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg? Their big standoff. Amy Klobuchar saying that you have memorised a bunch of words. What about the people? What is a leader with a heart for the immigrants? That rhetoric.
I just think that Klobuchar and Buttigieg will fade. They are just too centrist. Their points of view are very muddy and unclear. No one really knows what they stand for. People like them. Buttigieg comes across as very intelligent, and Klobuchar comes across as very warm and personable. And she's articulate and fast on her feet. But when you get down to it, it's not clear what she stands for. People are unconvinced, and I think that eventually she will suffer as a consequence.
And what about Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders? How did they go at the Democratic debate?
Biden is finished. Biden is completely out of it. He shows himself to be weak, over the top, worn out. As far as I'm concerned, his candidacy is finished. And as for Sanders, Sanders, I think, has shown himself to be the front runner. He is by far the strongest candidate, the one with the clearest message, the one with the most passionate following. And I think the nomination looks like it's his. Now, a lot of things could happen between now and the summer when the Democrats have their convention. But for the moment, Sanders is looking stronger and stronger.
Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see the Nevada caucus, which is the first time that they've done early voting. First of all, how did you think that has been going so far? And how do you think Bernie Sanders will go in Nevada?
Well, I'm very reluctant to say because predictions are really hard. But I think that Sanders will do very well. Nevada is actually a kind of a good state for Sanders. It's one of the most unionized states in the country. It has a large workforce, a lot of Hispanics who essentially lean towards Sanders. So I expect him to do very well. But maybe I'll have to eat my words when the voting is finished.
Well, maybe we can talk this time next week. But no Michael Bloomberg for the Nevada caucuses. So from what you've been talking about, do you think that's a good move?
I don't know. I mean, Bloomberg just looks weaker and weaker. I can't see. I mean, Bloomberg shows money only goes so far. You can't buy votes, and essentially he's tried to use his money to sort of cover up his political hollowness. And Wednesday's debate showed that won't work. So we'll see.
And also, Daniel, no president has held rallies in the same area at the same time where Democrats are holding their caucuses. What do you think Donald Trump is gaining from his approach with the rallies?
Trump is very combative, and he's doing very well. I mean, he's very aggressive. His followers like that about him. They want to see a good fight, and they want to see Trump take the offensive. So carrying the battle to Nevada is one way of doing that, and so far it's paid off for Trump. So the only way the Democrats can stop him is putting up somebody who is equally as aggressive, equally as combative against him. And as far as I'm concerned, the only one who can do that is Bernie Sanders.
And we're hearing Donald Trump's impeachment report has been auctioned at Golden Site. So far, the highest bidder is for $17,000 and rising. How much do you think it will get to?
I don't really know. I hate making predictions because I'm really bad at them.
Oh, well, watch this space. There's plenty going on. Daniel Lazare, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here on Weekend Edition. Thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you.